That time I got reincarnated as a slime has a really rich world that is filled with many interesting and different species of inhabitants, but I think that the Insectar, Phantom and Cryptid races are by far one of my most favorite additions to the series. They are easily one of the few insanely powerful races in the Tensura universe, and we finally got some more information about them. So in this video, I wanted to break down and explain these 3 singularly mysterious and powerful races of the Tensura world. This video will contain heavy spoilers for the series, so feel free to click away if you don't want to be spoiled about future events. Also, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more. I mainly do Tensura content, but I do occasionally talk about other stuff as well.
弱い者いじめはやめてください。
Before I talk about the 3 races, I need to explain how they came into existence in the first place. To start, before the main Tensura world was created by the Star King Dragon Valdenava, he had created the 7 primordial angels to help him maintain order in this new world and protect the inhabitants from threats like the demons. The first of these angels to be created was Feldway. He became the leader of the primordial angels and they would oversee the tasks they were given by the supreme creator. Later, a monster of unknown origins came into existence known as the world-destroying dragon Ivarage. It was a monster that lacked any form of intelligence and was solely driven by its destructive instincts. Because Ivarage was said to be as powerful as the true dragons, it had the potential to bring about the eventual destruction of the world, and so Feldway tried to stop it, but he was unable to do so. Valdenava, seeing the destruction caused by Ivarage, decided to intervene and seal the monster away in an alternate dimension known as the Otherworld, a semi-spiritual world that exists on top of the spiritual world so as to overlap the spirit world and demon world. Because Valdenava believed that Ivarage would eventually develop its own intelligence and ego, he decided to give the monster a chance and spare the monster's life. Feldway was then assigned to watch over Ivarage in the Otherworld along with 3 other primordial angels, Obera, Zelario and Cornu. Now, because of the immense amount of magicutes that leaked out from Ivarage, the magicutes had filled the Otherworld, which resulted in the birth of a new race of monsters known as the Cryptids, with Ivarage now being the king of the new race. They are the first race of monsters to be born in the Otherworld and are considered to be degraded versions of Ivarage. The Cryptids do not need rest, food or water, and they also lacked all forms of intelligence, only driven by their instincts to fight. With that, Feldway and his forces would spend their days inside the Otherworld exterminating cryptids that went out of control or tried to escape to the main Tensura world. Eventually, the Magicutes would give birth to Zelanus, an insect-type cryptid that possessed intelligence and a will of its own, much to Valdenava's delight. After Zelanus was born, he would go on to create his own race of monsters known as the Insectars and become the Insect Lord. However, Feldway wasn't very fond of Zelanus because he considered Zelanus a disgusting creature born from Ivarage, but due to Valdenava's orders, both of them would tolerate each other so they can deal with the cryptids of the underworld. Over the years inside the Otherworld, Feldway would undergo a transformation as well after being constantly exposed to Ivarage's magicutes, and he was no longer an angel. He had transformed into a new race known as the Phantoms. But he wasn't the only one because the other 3 primordial angels and their forces also transformed into Phantoms. That's basically how the 3 races of the Otherworld would come to exist, with the Insectars and Phantoms having a mutual understanding to fight the Cryptids, but when Valdenava had disappeared, that mutual understanding was no more and it would become a 3-way battle between the 3 races. However, occasionally when the Cryptids broke out in large numbers, the Phantoms and Insectars would still call for a truce and fight together to stop them. Now that I talked about the origin of each race, let's take a more detailed look at each of the individual races, starting with the Cryptids. As I mentioned just now, they were the first to be born in the Otherworld, having spawned from the magicutes of Ivarage, and there's actually another method for a Cryptid to be born, and that is by splitting from their parents, although this was quite a rare occurrence. There are 2 types of Cryptids, one is the insect type and the other one is the beast type. My guess is that after Zelanus was born, he took control of the insect type Cryptids and used them to create the Insectar Race. But anyways, Cryptids are essentially beings born from pure magicutes, so they are considered to be extremely strong and special individuals with very powerful fighting abilities. They are highly individualistic, cunning and belligerent creatures, caring only about expanding their territory, spending their time fighting and causing destruction. Now, there is a crude form of ruling system among the Cryptids with Ivarage at the top, while the rest are just mindless drones that simply follow the destructive desires of their king. But because of their lack of intelligence, the Cryptids would rarely, if ever, coordinate a large force or cooperate with each other. They mostly acted on their own, so infighting happened often, but it does make it easier for the Phantoms and Insectars to deal with. Currently, as of volume 19 of the light novel, not much is known about the Cryptid Race other than Ivarage having broken the seal placed onto him and that he has now developed an ego and intelligence after absorbing the souls of the Phantoms killed by the Mana Smiker, so things are definitely getting spicy. Also, Ivarage is the only notable member of the Cryptid Race, but according to Dino, apparently Kumara could also be part of the Cryptid Race, meaning her mother was also one, and it's likely that the both of them are rare cases of cryptids being born with a view of their own and intelligence. Moving on, let's talk about the Insectar Race, and like I said, they were created after Zelanus, the first intelligent cryptid, was born into the Otherworld. Zelanus likely used the insect branch of the Cryptid Race to create the new Insectar Race with him as the leader. Now, the Insectar Race has two stages to their evolution, their starting insect form and their final humanoid form. In their humanoid form, they will become extremely skilled fighters, possessing immense levels of physical strength and speed, and they could now manipulate magic use at such a level that they can just nullify all forms of magic, making them the perfect enemy to the demons. The Insectars also possess powerful natural advantages like their almost unbreakable exoskeletons and their compound eyes, which allow them to see everything. And unlike the Cryptids, the Insectar Race has a very simple social class system in place, with Zelanus at the top as the Insect Lord, and under him would be the 12 Insect Generals, the strongest fighting force in the Insectar Race, and they are all at the Super Awakened level. Below the Generals, we have the Insectar Commanders, and they are considered to all have threat levels ranging from Hazard to Disaster class. Finally is the normal Insectar Warriors with threat levels of above rank B, and they are the only Insectars that still haven't evolved into their humanoid forms. Zelanus and the Insectars only had one ultimate goal, and that is to expand their safe haven by invading the main Tensura World. However, invading another world is quite difficult, mainly because the methods were too troublesome. The first way was to simply wait for a space-time oscillation event to occur, which will open a rift to the main world, but this was unreliable because this event only happens once in 1,000 years, and when it does happen, the rift can only remain open for a short period of time and only a few can travel through it. Another method was to simply use the Underworld Gate, permanent rifts that link the other world and the main world to cross over, but these gates were guarded by the primordial demons. Even though Insectars were the natural enemies of the demons, they would still have a hard time fighting them because in the demon realm, demons are far stronger than in the physical world. Despite that, Zelanus and his forces eventually got the chance to invade the main world when he formed an alliance with Feldway and Michael. Now, besides Zelanus, here are some other notable members of the Insectar Race like the Stag Beetle type Insectar Zagion and the Wasp type Insectar Apito, who were rescued by Rimuru Tempest. And then there's also Granbell Russo's friend Razu, another Stag Beetle type Insectar. Here's an interesting fact about Razu. He used to be part of the Insect Generals and he was sent to the main world as a scout, but he decided to betray them after befriending Granbell Russo. There was also another Insect General sent to the world, and she was the Worm type Insectar known as Minaza. However, Razu and Minaza were later defeated by our Purple Empress Shion. As for the remaining insect generals that were introduced, we have Zest, the leader of the group, and he's considered to have powers that could rival even Zelario. Then we have Period, a damselfly type Insectar, Tishon, a praying mantis type Insectar, Trun, a goldfly type Insectar, Bidhop, an Insectar that looks like a mix between a bee and grasshopper, a bard, a spider type Insectar, and finally Sario, a scorpion type Insectar. Finally, let's talk about the phantoms that are led by the Phantom King Feldway. As I said just now, Feldway used to be a primordial angel, but after constant exposure to Ivarage's magic use, he along with the other primordial angels that were in the other world became phantoms. They are immensely powerful, especially the top few individuals who were given names and blessed by Valdanava himself. Not counting Feldway, these individuals who were blessed by Valdanava were the former primordial angels Obera, Zelario, and Cornu, but now they have obtained a new title, the Phantom Commanders. They are considered the most powerful fighting force of the Phantom Race, each of them possessing powers that could rival even the true Demon Lord Gi Crimson and Milim Nava. However, as of making this video, Zelario is the only Phantom Commander left, Obera has betrayed the Phantoms and swore allegiance to Milim, and Cornu has been completely destroyed by the True Dragon Valgren. That said, the ultimate goal of the Phantoms is to invade and destroy not just the main Tensura world, but every other parallel worlds that Valdanava favored, and yes, there are parallel worlds in the Tensura series. But anyways, Feldway would eventually join forces with Justice King Michael to bring back Valdanava, and after he unintentionally gave Michael a name, the skill evolved into a Theosophy called Manas. Their plan is to invade the main world to collect all the ultimate skills that Valdanava used to possess and obtain the dragon factors of the 3 true dragons in hopes of reconstructing him, and if that failed, they would just start destroying the world. Of course, in order to do this, the Phantoms needed an underworld gate to get through. That's why Michael took control of Emperor Rudra and used the resources of the Eastern Empire to bring the Phantoms over. However, Phantoms are semi-spiritual and very unstable beings, so they can't remain in the physical world for long. That's why Phantoms need a physical body to possess, so that they can incarnate made into the world, and one of the advantages they have when possessing a body is that unnamed phantoms will take on the names of their hosts, establishing a sense of self, even gaining the knowledge, experiences, and skills from the host they possess. When a phantom is able to fully assimilate with the host body, their powers would increase exponentially, but because most unnamed phantoms are like machines that only follow the orders of their leaders, their egos are extremely weak, and if the ego of the host is far greater, they will overpower them and cause a fracture in their identity, which might lead to disobedience or too much free will. That's why the phantoms would use undead elves as vessels instead, because they lack the egos and are far stronger than human bodies. Here are some of the notable phantoms that have awakened in their new undead elf bodies: Zelario and Obera of the Phantom Commanders, Nice and Dallas, both subordinates of Zelario, and finally Omar, Obera's second in command. Besides that, the Phantoms also has a hierarchy system in place, and starting with the lowest one is the Phantom Soldiers. They have a threat level of rank B to A- if they don't have a host, but after they fully assimilated with a host, their threat level will reach the Hazard class. Moving up, we have the Phantom Officers, and if they don't have a host, their threat levels will simply reach rank A-, but a fully assimilated one will be at least the Disaster class threat level. Then we have the Phantom Generals, and without a host, they already have a Disaster class threat level, but with a host, they will easily reach the Super Awakened class. Finally, at the top is Feldway and the Phantom Commanders. All I can say is their threat levels easily surpass the Super Awakened class. So yeah, that's all the information I managed to gather on the Cryptid, Insectar, and Phantom races of the Otherworld. They are the three major forces that constantly fight for supremacy in the Otherworld and boasted some of the strongest military forces in the Tensura series. I definitely found them to be quite interesting, but what about you? Do you like their inclusion into the story, and did I miss anything? I would love to hear them in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more Tensura and other anime content in the future. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe everyone.